How can you use restaurant value engineering in your restaurant to engineer a little bit more profit? This is 10 examples of restaurant value engineering, part 2.
Some restaurants are quiet, lose money, and the owner works 70 hours a week. Other restaurants are busy, profitable, and the owners work a few hours a day. What's the difference? They have a secret sauce. Join James from Marketing for Restaurants as he helps you come up with your recipe for restaurant success. Your secret sauce.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm James Ealing. This is episode 149 and we are continuing the story of restaurant value engineering. Had some really good feedback with the first episode, which is super exciting. What we are trying to do as we develop this concept is to give you just a little bit of a different way of thinking about how you run your restaurant and how you can extract the maximum value out of it for you and create a little bit more value for your customers. And this is the thing that I think is really important. Ideally, your restaurant value engineering practices are going to be win-win. The customers are going to see more value and they'll be more than willing to pay more money for it. So last week we looked at just the simple one, put your prices up, the way that you're going to sell your food, how you describe it, other revenue streams, things like cooking classes, whether that's in person, whether you're going to create a YouTube channel, a recipe book, selling your secret sauce, the products that you produce. Is it something that can be done in a take-home, more tangible way? And the typical example of that we see lots of restaurants doing is creating their special hamburger sauce and having it there available with the cashier as a take-home add-on to the purchase. Gift cards, prepaid bookings, really important revenue stream for some restaurants if it is appropriate. And if it isn't, then you can do the alternative, which is gift cards. If you missed last week's podcast, then definitely have a listen to it. I think there was a fair bit of value in it that we put in it for restaurant owners. And that was definitely the feedback that we were getting back from people, just, hey, I hadn't thought about it that way. And it's, realistically, it's the simplest things, like putting your prices up. I know I was talking to a restaurant owner probably about a year ago now, before all of the horror of COVID started, and he had resisted putting his prices up because no one would be prepared to pay higher prices, and he did it and no one noticed. And this is a reoccurring theme, and the really big thing with putting your prices up is that if those prices go up 5% and your profit margin across the entire business is 5%, putting your prices up 5% is actually going to double the amount of profit that you're making. Ka-chinga. That's really exciting. And realistically, customers aren't going to notice that. Putting your prices up, that's obviously one of the areas that's a sell-side component to restaurant value engineering. Let's flip it around and let's have a look at, before the product actually gets out to the table. And that is the input costs for your business. It's quite simple as looking at things like your electricity and gas bill. And for some restaurants, it is quite considerable, and shopping around a bit, you can save a little bit of money there. I think what a lot of people need to think about, and it depends on what your team is like, have a look at the inputs into the food that you've got going on there. I don't do this, as a living, but I am quite interested in it, sitting down with a restaurant owner and just having a look at what goes in, what goes out, helping them to understand the P&L of their business. And it's really quite interesting when particularly when you've got a chef who is not an owner in the business, or the owner. A chef who is the owner, they know every dollar and cent that goes into each and every burger. Generally, you can get a huge disconnect though, where you've got a chef and you've got an owner, two different people, two very different needs, wants and desires. When you have a look at some of the things that they're getting, are they ultra premium products? Are they ultra premium inputs into an item that is not an ultra premium item? You don't want to be putting truffle oil in a $4.95 burger. You don't want to be adding beluga caviar to a marinara pizza that you're selling for $9.95. They would be extreme examples, but we do see that sort of thing where a significantly cheaper cheese, or a big one to think about is meat. where you may be able to use something a little bit cheaper. And if it's a little bit cheaper, then the food price is going to become cheaper, which means that potentially you can retain your price where it is and make a little bit more every time you ship that pizza out the door, every time you ship that pie, the steak, or whatever it is that's going out the door. This is not one of those things that you would do as a one-off process. I think it's actually one of those things that you need to be continually looking at, because suppliers will change. And suppliers, it's important to think about your relationship with supplier. You're not actually trying to get the cheapest price out of them. You're trying to get the best value out of them. So maybe they have got a significantly better cut of meat that's only a little bit more expensive. Something that, your customers could potentially pick up on, particularly if it's for a signature item. Can you find a supplier that'll be able to supply more of the goods that you need to mean that you're spending less time on managing the inventory? Is there someone who delivers twice as often, which means that you can cut down on the amount of inventory you've got to hold? Lots of little things that you can do to improve a small component of the profitability question right there. Although, if food cost is not something that you have looked at closely in a while, there could be quite a lot of value that you can extract from that. And I know that because I've talked to restaurants that have gone out of business because they haven't done the costings and they haven't worked out how much it costs to make each and every one of their meals, and they've been selling them at a loss and they've gone out of business. That's sad times. The next one is one that I think is really quite cool. It's something that happens all the time, but it's going to be something that happens a lot more frequently, and that is dynamic pricing. This is a really interesting one because it's one where a lot of restaurant owners say, oh, that's not really going to work in our restaurant, and yet they're already doing it. And the perfect example of that is you've got one price for the dinner menu, and I've been in restaurants where the lunch menu is exactly the same except with a cheaper price. And then there's breakfast, and breakfast will be a different menu, but it will be cheaper. And that is because there is less demand for people to come out and eat breakfast generally, and people aren't prepared to pay the price that they would pay for a dinner that they would for a lunch generally. So that supply and demand is why you have those different prices. Plus or minus the different serving sizes. But in general, and I know I've been to restaurants where it's pretty much exactly the same, it's just significantly cheaper. And that's because people don't want to dine there at lunch. They'll discount it a bit so that they can get the people in for their lunchtime trade. And that works really quite well, particularly if it's super busy and difficult to get into at night. Let's think about this though, logically. If you are your typical Indian restaurant and you're doing lots of takeaways, you will probably do 50% of your revenue over an 8-hour period or 2 4-hour periods. The 4 hours on Friday night and the 4 hours on the Saturday night. Is there any way that you could charge a premium for those premium times? Because why is it that everyone wants a curry on a Friday night? It's because they've had a busy week, and this signifies the start of the weekend, and they're going to have a little bit of a treat. They're going to have some takeaway food. Interesting. There's only one Friday night, and that's why people always order on a Friday night. So I don't like discounting personally because I think it's not great, and people in the restaurant industry are working on razor fine margins. Here's an idea to think about. Put your prices up 10% across the board and then offer a 10% discount for people who are ordering Sunday to Thursday. There will be some people to whom a 10 or 20% discount that they perceive will have value. So they did want to order on the Friday night, but what they will do is they'll come across and they'll do it on a Thursday night. So you're going to build revenue on a Thursday night. You're going to take some pressure off the kitchen because it's trying to pump out so many of those orders on a Friday night. And if you're talking about a dining experience, then you may actually see that you're going to have an increase in revenue across the week, because there will be the last thing that you ever want to do is to be turning someone away. And it can be quite simple to do. You could have the weekend menu, which will have potentially different items, potentially the same item, different pricing. This is a really great example of where restaurant owners will often leave value on the table. And they bemoan the fact that it's really quiet on a Tuesday night. Well, very few people want to go on a Tuesday night. But if a lot of people want to go on a Friday night, there's obviously value in a Friday over Tuesday. Now, this is really obvious stuff, but so few restaurants actually do anything with it. And that's why I think that special Friday menu, the special Saturday menu, you might have a couple of things in there that are a little bit different. You might have a completely different menu, but people will see that it's a cheaper, better value potentially for them, for anyone who is price sensitive. And this is the thing about niching across all of your customers to really extract the maximum value that you can from each and every one of your customers. So the value for someone who doesn't want to pay the full rack rate is the fact that they would be prepared to come in on a Thursday. So that's number 7. Number 8 is a related concept, which I am really quite a fan of. When I did my MBA, did lots of case studies in the airline industry, RevPASH. So revenue per available seat hour. Same concept as what they use in the airline industry, which is revenue per available seat mile. RevPASH, what we're going to do is if the restaurant is open for 4 hours and you've got 25 seats and you take $1,000, then that's $250 per hour. You've got 25 seats. It's $10 per seat per hour. Now, in and of itself, I don't think it's a really useful tool, but the thing that is really useful about RevPASH is the levers that you get to pull with it. So, if you look at something like the number of hours that you are open, obviously it's really hard to be super profitable if you're only open for a few hours. And so this brings up all sorts of interesting options for you. This is why one of the big things that you can do to increase the profitability for your restaurant is, potentially doing things like starting to take coffee in the morning if you're only doing lunch or dinner trade. If you're only doing dinner trade, what would you have to do to make a halfway decent lunch trade? This can get really interesting when people say, well, I don't want to do a breakfast trade, but there's someone who does want to do a breakfast trade. And so I'm going to let them come in and they'll pay me for the kitchen, the space, the walk-by traffic, all of the value that I can create by allowing them, not actually giving them a space, but giving them a time. You're not going to make all of the profit off that revenue that comes in, but you'll get a portion of it. And that portion goes against all of the fixed costs that you've got in the restaurant, which means that your RevPASH can be lower and still be profitable, or you could be the same and still you'll have increased profitability. Hey, that's pretty cool. What else is there? Well, so we're out for dinner on Saturday night at a really cool Chinese restaurant, a very sort of authentic, little bit grubby, little bit dingy. In Melbourne, there was lots of Chinese people there, which I always think is for me, that gives you the big tick. And yeah, it was super yummy food. Interesting. They had a sign up there that said maximum stay 1.5 hours. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to increase the number of times they turn a table. They don't have a banquet. The first thing that we did when we got the menu was we started looking through it. Where's the banquet? Where's the banquet? There is no banquet. And I thought, that's a little bit weird that there's no banquet, because I kind of thought that they would have had one. No banquet. What they do, and why don't they have that? Because they don't want people staying there for 3 or 4 hours. Get them in, give them a really big plate of epic tasting food, and kick them out. That's their business model, and it seemed to be working all right. They weren't super busy. That was my big thing, but not overly well marketed. So it was a word of mouth referral, which is my favorite way of finding these restaurants. Super authentic, massive plates of food, really tasty. Would happily go back. The sad thing is, not well marketed. Can you increase the number of seats in the restaurant? Now with COVID, a lot of the councils who regulate what you can do on the street, a lot of them are being super lenient. So you could potentially put a few more tables out on the street. Now, if it's going to be cold weather, not really great, but you might be able to get 1 or 2 people extra out there. That is going to increase your revenue per available seat hour. Put your prices up, that'll increase it. Turn your tables more often, that'll increase it. How do you turn your tables more often? Well, that brings us through to number 9, which is happy hour. So maybe you're going to be open a little bit earlier, and have a special happy hour menu. And if you've listened to the podcast, you'll know that I don't think that happy hour it has to be all about alcohol. It can be, and that certainly does help profitability. But it could also be about food. What do? And it's important that you don't have the entire menu. It's not about just discounting the menu and having some sort of happy hour thing, because you've got people in and they're doing prep and they're prepping for main service. So what you want to do is have things that are super easy to prep or pre-prepped sitting in the kitchen, ready to rock and roll for when the people come in. Two critical things about a happy hour. One, it increases your revenue per available seat hour, because you're going to be open that little bit longer. And the other thing is, if happy hours from 5 till 6 and main dinner service starts at 6, then you're going to already have 10, 15, 20 people in the restaurant. You'll have seated them all up in front of the window so that when someone walks by, this place is really busy, I should go in and eat there. So, and this is the thing, always look for the value. I like getting something and getting value out of it 1, 2, 3, 4 ways. A person comes in for an advertised happy hour deal that's pretty cool. 1, you might be able to get them to come back for a full dinner. 2, you can upsell them on drinks. 3, they're going to make the place look full for when your main dinner service starts. And 4, you got some revenue in the door while the back of house team was busy prepping for the main service. That is pretty cool. 10, chef's table. I'm amazed at the number. I love a chef's table. Absolutely love it. And, I've been out to dinner at a chef's table with people who aren't in the restaurant industry, and they love it as well. I think they love it even more than me because, I've eaten it at a few. I've been lucky enough to eat at quite a few chef's tables. You kind of know how it's going to sort of go down. If it's someone's first time, they're like, oh my God, wow, you can see what's going on in the kitchen. This is amazing. The other thing that I find amazing is the number of people who don't actually charge for their chef's table. It is the same price. And it's like, well, I probably wouldn't be doing that. Create a little bit of theatre, create a little bit of excitement, a little bit of fun, which is what the chef's table does, then extract the value from it. You can always get people to book the chef's table where there's special conditions. You must spend X amount per head. You must commit to a certain price. You must have this menu. And if no one goes for that, then just let your normal diners, your walk-in diners sit there. That's fine. But I find it interesting the places that you can go to where there is no premium at whatsoever for a chef's table. Number 11, we've already talked about this a little bit, and that is leasing out your kitchen to someone to do a different service. If you are running a cafe, does someone want to put in a dinner service? If there is someone who... sorry, just going back to RevPash, dessert. What is your dessert menu? Are you able to stay open another hour and get people to come in for that dessert after they've been to the movies? What is the foot traffic that you've got going by? Can you come up with a specialty dessert menu? Can you come up with a specialty dessert menu that people would come out for? Lots of good questions there that would increase your profitability. Get on it, because I love a good dessert. Leasing out your kitchen. So, I go back to the story of Robbie Doyle, who's a real estate expert in Perth, started out his career as a chef in London, incredibly successful. He got his big break by negotiating with someone on a time when their restaurant wasn't open that he wanted to create a service. So as a professional, he made sure that the kitchen was cleaner than when he found it, and the owner of the restaurant, she got some rental, so her business was more profitable, and he got the ability to build his business. What's the value in this transaction? Well, obviously there's a kitchen, a fully fitted out kitchen. They're moderately hard to find. Also, the tables, the chairs, the dining area. So, interesting. How much value do you need out of your dining area, particularly if you are a rising star in the delivery stakes? Now, this is where you can really play with the value engineering equation and potentially try a dark kitchen. Why are dark kitchens so hot right now? The big thing, I think, is the fact that the rent on a factory property is significantly less. And you can equip your commercial kitchen out significantly bigger than it would be, because generally, because you're paying retail prices, your kitchen will be constrained. So the throughput, the maximum amount of money that you can make is always going to be limited. You can put in a huge kitchen And then rather than trying to sell X number of curries, you could also marry that up with burgers, marry it up with pizza, whatever the cuisine is that you want to put in there. There are lots of restaurants who are doing this right now. And I think hats off to Deliveroo. They're the ones who have really, really pushed the dark kitchen concept. They're pushing it because of the fact that they want to cook the food. They want to vertically integrate the entire way. What they're doing is they're using the restaurants to work out where their demand is. Then they put in their little dark kitchen. At the moment, they invite chefs in to cook in there, but I don't think it'll be long before they have their Deliveroo-owned sites. They'll know where all of the huge demand is. They'll know where there's a lot of people who love pizza. They'll put in a dark kitchen that is going to just pump out a huge amount of pizzas, and they'll be right in the middle of it because part of their flexibility is the ability to plonk a kitchen wherever there is the maximum demand for it. I think it's awful for consumers because it's not going to be great, it's not going to be authentic, and it's also absolutely fatal to the restaurant industry because as delivery becomes a bigger part of the revenue mix for so many restaurants, Deliveroo will be there to take it. But if you're going to do your own dark kitchen, then giddy up. I think a really big opportunity there. That brings us to our penultimate restaurant value engineering little hack for you, and that is online ordering. So my big thing, do it yourself. Run pickup only if you don't want to deliver. Really think about the logistics component of it because I think there is a lot of value there. Big thing, pizza shops have been doing it for 60 years. They've been doing it profitably for 60 years. It can be done. It should be done. It's something that you can do in your restaurant if there's a lot of people who want to eat your food in the comfort of their own homes. Order, direct, and save. That is a huge one. I'm not going to go on and talk about it here because I've talked about enough order, direct, and save. But I know that there are restaurants using, for instance, Frollo, and there's plenty of them out there. Now, Frollo's free, although not for too much longer. We'll talk about that in a later episode. There are lots of opportunities out there. You don't need to be giving away your customer data. You can capture the customer data, and if you're not getting the customer data, then they're not really your customer. And if you are using something like Uber Eats, you put the little flyer in the bag. Hey, thanks for eating at Joe's Pizza Shop. We hope you love the food. We're a small business. We're a local small business. We'd really appreciate it if next time you ordered from our website because Uber Eats takes 35%. Boom. That order, direct, and save campaign, we've got customers who are doing significant amounts every week just with that quick and easy little hack. And some of them aren't doing delivery. They're getting pickup. The customers know that they're getting it 25% cheaper. And some of their customers are like, you know what? I don't need to use Uber Eats. They're a big evil company, some people think. What we'll do is we'll order direct with them and I'll go and pick it up. And I'll save $20. For some people, that's a good value proposition. Now, the last one on our list, number 14. So we have really underpromised and over-delivered on our top 10 restaurant value engineering hacks. And this is experience engineering. Experience engineering is taking what it is that you've got and really emphasizing the experience that the customer is going to get. We're going to spend quite a bit of time breaking down what experience engineering is, but it can be as simple as starting with a smile. How do you treat a customer when they walk into the restaurant? How does the customer feel when they first flip through the menu? How do they feel when the food is brought out to them? There are so many little touch points that you can create for the customer to create an experience that significantly increases the value of the transaction where someone comes in and you give them food. Analyzing the customer process through your business will highlight plenty of little touch points that you can work on to increase the value. And where you increase the value, that means that the customer will be prepared to pay more for the experience. And one of my favorite quotes about the restaurant industry, where there's experience, there's margin. That is really important to think about. And it's quite a big trend because of the fact that what we see is a lot of people trying to take fine dining into the mass market. And so they don't do the entire whole fine dining experience. What they do is they take little tiny pieces of it so that the consumer recognizes that there's greater value than just the hot dog, the pizza, the whatever it is that you're serving up, and they're prepared to pay for it because it makes them feel special. That's it. So yes, hopefully out of our 14-ish, there's probably a couple more in there, out of our 14 restaurant value engineering hacks, hopefully you got something out of it and your restaurant will be a little bit more profitable. If you're listening to this in the times of COVID, hopefully you can see the light at the end of the tunnel and it's not an oncoming train. In Melbourne, we did it pretty dark. We had a full lockdown for 11 weeks and things are almost back to normal here. So you can get through it. Chin up, we'll all get there. That's it. Bye.
Want more customers for your restaurant, cafe or takeout? Every month, our marketing tools and information are used by thousands of restaurant owners just like you to help them find more customers and turn them into repeat customers. All of our tools and information is designed specifically for restaurant owners. We know you don't have a lot of time to spend marketing or learning complicated procedures, so our tools are quick and easy to use. If you're looking to increase your revenue and profits or want to work less hours, check out marketingforrestaurants.com.